Hetton Hall, located in the northeast of England, UK, has an important history with the rapid expansion of coal mining and railways in the early 1800s. An early map shows the route of the Hetton Railway from the collieries around Hetton up to the Staithes on the River Wear at Sunderland. The length of the railway was approximately 11 miles. After breaking through the limestone and finding pristine coal deposits, Hetton Lyons was the first colliery opened in 1822, followed by Elemore and Hetton Collieries soon after. It is important to note that the Hetton Colliery Railway was opened 3 years before the opening of the Darlington to Stockton Railway. George Stephenson and his son Robert were involved in the design and construction of both railways. The Stephenson Trail follows the approximate route of the Hetton Colliery Railway from Elemore Park on the site of the disused Elemore Colliery up to the site of the River Wear Staithes in Sunderland. The first part of the walk starts at Elemore Park and finishes at the Lyons cottages. Point of interest B is the Grade 2 listed Pithead Baths, the only surviving buildings of Elemore Colliery. They can be seen on the approach road to the entrance of Elemore Park. This pit wheel stands as a memorial to the once thriving Elemore Colliery. A National Library of Scotland side-by-side OS map shows how the topography of Elemore Colliery has changed from the early 1800s up to the present time. The Stephenson Trail starts by following a countryside route from Elemore Park up to a local housing estate. A side-by-side NLS map shows the development of a housing estate and how evidence of the Hetton Railway has disappeared over time. The following selected pictures are a snapshot of Elemore Colliery over more than 100 years operation from 1905 up to and after its closure in 1974. The Stephenson Trail continues through the housing estate to reach a crossing point at 4 lane ends and the Lyons cricket ground. The crossing point is shown with the white gates before the line was taken up in the mid-1960s. The original Lyons Tavern has been repurposed but still remains. An electrical substation is now located on the site of the railway. After passing the Lyons cricket ground, the route continues past a new Aldi supermarket construction site to then reach point of interest C at the Lyons cottages. A blue plaque states that the Hetton Colliery and Railway were laid out by George Stephenson and built by his brother Robert, who lived in a cottage in this row. After leaving the Lyons cottages, the Stephenson Trail takes a detour from the original railway route via Hetton Lyons Country Park to rejoin the route at the Hetton Methodist Church. The route passes the site of the Hetton Colliery. This was the oldest of the three collieries on the Hetton Railway. Its importance to the start of the Industrial Revolution is significant and well documented. A side-by-side NLS Ordnance Survey map shows how the Hetton Colliery has been replaced with an industrial estate and country park. The walking trail skirts the lakes within the park, showing the regeneration from their industrial past. A wagon shop from Hetton Colliery is shown within the red circle on this NLS map of 1920s buildings. It is the only building remaining from the Hetton Colliery. A side-by-side NLS map shows the Hetton Colliery passing over a tunnel which carried the Durham and Sunderland Railway. A 1968 NLS map shows the tunnel still in existence at this time. No current physical or photo evidence can now be found at the location next to the park. The Stephenson Walk now follows the alternative route through Hetton Country Park. The trail now reaches Hetton Lake and a sculpture dedicated to the bicentenary in 2022 of the sinking of Hetton Colliery and the opening of the Hetton Colliery Railway. After skirting the lake, the trail next reaches a memorial for the Hetton Colliery pit disaster, which occurred on the 6th of July 1951. An explosion resulted in the loss of 9 lives. As the trail leaves Hetton Park, it passes a sculpture called Greenheart Tree by William Pym. This is one of 5 similar installations in areas of regeneration, especially coal mines. The stunning view over the lake shows how the park has been regenerated from its rich mining past. The trail now leaves Hetton Park to rejoin the original route of the railway on its way through Hettonley Hall. The Prince of Wales public house still remains from the railway era, and the following pictures show how the railway passed by the pub before it was eventually lifted in 1959. The trail now reaches Point E, the Hetton Primitive Methodist Church, with a plaque dedicated to miners who lost their lives at Hetton Colliery. A train sculpture and blue plaque can be seen next to the church, dedicated to George Stephenson and the Hetton Colliery Railway, which passed close by. The Stephenson Trail continues on the flat until it reaches Rough Dean at the bottom of Copt Hill. After leaving the church and sculpture, the Stephenson Trail moves on to where it crossed Caroline Street in Hetton Hall. A photo from 1959 shows a train crossing Caroline Street with the Caroline Public House in the background. The next Google image shows the crossing point at the current time. Another undated photo shows a train at the Caroline Street crossing with Jack Evans, the crossing keeper. An Hetton Colliery pit can be seen in the distance. Another Google image shows the current viewpoint of the Caroline Street crossing. After crossing Caroline Street, the Stephenson Trail reaches the 9 mile to the River Wear marker post. The trail next passes Fairy Street. This name recalls an ancient tumulus, long since lost, that was known locally as Fairy's Cradle because of its supposed habitation by fairies. After Fairy Street, the trail continues to an approximate point where it would have been joined by the Hetton Colliery. A side-by-side NLS map shows how the topography has changed, with the colliery now in use as a quarry used for mineral extraction. At this location, the following photos show the Hetton Railway crossing over Regent Street via an iron bridge which was demolished in approximately 1965. The Google image shows the current view up Regent Street, with the railway bridge crossing now a distant memory. A graduated side-by-side NLS map shows the approximate location where the Hetton Colliery Railway would have joined the Hetton Railway. The location is approximately where the Stephenson Trail follows a route on a path behind houses near to All Saints Drive in Hetton Hall. An undated picture shows the Hetton Colliery Railway joining the Hetton Railway. After leaving All Saints Drive, the trail reaches a marker post at 8.5 miles to the River Wear. The trail now continues along the flat until it reaches the foot of Copt Hill at Hetton Dean. Up to this point, wagons were transported to and from the collieries by steam locomotives. Here, the wagons were transferred within a marshalling yard to continue their journey up to Warden Law via a rope and pulley system utilising stationary engines. The Stephenson Trail continues on an uphill route until it reaches Copt Hill at point of interest F. At Copt Hill, the trail crosses the Hetton to Seaham Road before continuing up to Warden Law from above the Copt Hill Inn. A short detour at Copt Hill leads to point of interest F, known as the Seven Sisters. The Seven Sisters consist of 7 beech trees, now only 6 on the summit. This is a scheduled ancient monument which comprises of a prehistoric burial mound with a panoramic view of the countryside. The following images show the gated railway crossing at Copt Hill, followed by a Google image of the current view looking down the Hetton to Seaham Road towards the crossing point and the Copt Hill Inn. After crossing the road at Copt Hill, the Stephenson Trail takes the alternative disused railway route up to point of interest G at Warden Law, marked in green on the map. A schematic drawing of the Hetton Railway from the 1840s show 3 stationary winding engines between Copt Hill and Warden Law. An early NLS map shows the 3 stationary winding engines between Copt Hill and Warden Law, the highest point of the Hetton Railway. The current map shows the walking route and the approximate locations for the long-gone engine houses. The walk now follows the approximate route of the disused railway up to Warden Law. This is an undated photo looking back down to the Hetton to Seaham Road crossing at Copt Hill. The following photos show the Buyer engine before it was dismantled after the Hetton Colliery Railway closed in 1959. This photo shows the flat stationary engine looking down towards Copt Hill in the late 1950s. The following pictures and video show the Warden Law winding engine construction and operation before being dismantled after the closure of the Hetton Railway in 1959. The engine components were later moved to Beamish Museum for storage, where they currently remain.
Today, 119 knot out, the Warden Law engine is still hauling 5,000 tons of coal a day. Yes, all that you see here dates back to 1836, except for the shaft and some new bearings and outbreak. Perhaps soon the time will come when the Warden Law engine will have to be replaced by a more modern installation. When that day comes, no one will miss her more than Alfred Swinhoe.
Shortly after point of interest G, the walking route reaches the summit of Warden Law and a local go-kart racing track. A short detour finds a spectacular viewpoint looking towards Sunderland and the coastline. The original route of the Hetton Railway can be seen in the hedge line in the middle of the frame. After leaving the go-kart track at Warden Law, the Stephenson Trail reaches Hangman's Lane and then continues on until it crosses over the A19 dual carriageway. After crossing the A19, the Stephenson Trail now reaches the 5.5 mile marker post. At this point, the trail rejoins the original route of the Hetton Railway through a tree-lined avenue marked as the Silksworth plantation. The Stephenson Trail continues its journey past Moorside until it rejoins the original railway route at the Silksworth Road crossing. After reaching the Silksworth Road crossing, a short detour is required to enter Doxford Park at Point of Interest H. Doxford Park, originally in the grounds of Silksworth House, has a history dating back to 1775. An interesting part of the park is a walled secret garden from the 1830s, which is generally open to the public. After crossing Silksworth Road, the Stephenson Trail reaches the next marker at 3.5 miles. The trail continues following the approximate route of the Hetton Railway through the Silksworth Sports Complex at Point of Interest I. A side-by-side NLS map shows how Silksworth Colliery was redeveloped after its closure in 1971 into a sport complex, woodland area and lakes with a variety of birdlife. The Stephenson Trail now reaches the Premier Road B1405 road crossing. The Stephenson Trail continues its journey through Sunderland, closely following the original route of the Hetton Railway. After crossing Premier Road, the trail passes an early train sculpture on a grassy embankment. The trail next reaches Durham Road, where the railway passed through a tunnel. Evidence of the tunnel still remains, and a bird's eye view shows the tunnel and continued route of the Hetton Railway. After a few road crossings, the trail reaches a 1.5 mile marker post. The Stephenson Trail continues its journey to reach the Penshaw Railway crossing at Point of Interest J. The metro line is built on the old Penshaw Railway line, which was established to carry freight to Hendon. The final part of the Stephenson Trail takes a detour around the mostly inaccessible Sunderland redevelopment area to reach its end at the Wearmouth Bridge. A graduated NLS map shows the disappearance of the heavily industrialised Hetton and Lambton Staithes on the River Wear. The following pictures give a snapshot of how the Staithes have changed throughout their long history. The Riverside Sunderland project shows how the old industry is being revitalised as a new and exciting place to live, work and play. My version of the Stephenson Trail ends by showing the three lodge banners of the collieries linked to the Hetton Railway. These were proudly displayed at a recent exhibition I attended at Durham Cathedral.